Cordyceptic change. This is a found diary. Names of all people and locations involved have been redacted or replaced. The individual that kept the diary was recovered. However, the remains are being shipped out for testing. The researcher involved was working on a modified fungus from the genotype Cordyceps sinensis, or also known as the bug fungus. The notes were written as a log starting the day of the experiment that was successful. The following can be seen by those authorized to view Level 6 blackout files. Origin of the outbreak cannot be allowed to be traced. Diary Entry 1. Hello. This diary is to keep some sort of record to what is going on. I am a researcher for the facility located in. My team and I were contracted to research and possibly weaponize a strain of cordyceps. I believe at this point, to me at least, we were successful in our task. Hour 1. We began our experiments by seeing what fungi we could potentially splice together for desired results. We finally determined that a strain of psilocybin mushroom worked surprisingly well in spreading the cordyceps spores into the subject's bodies. We do not as of yet understand why. However, we began monitoring the subject's physical and mental health from initial infection. We watched the progression from spore to the mycelium stage. At the beginning, the subject showed no major signs of discomfort. Symptoms resembled that of a phlegmy cough and minor joint stiffness. Also, minor hallucinations. The mental state was average. No discernible changes were noticed. Hour 2. Subject begins complaining of stiffness throughout their body, feelings of heavy weights inside them. Subject also began experiencing more vivid and intense feelings of euphoria in waves. Tests show that the mycelium has spread to the organs and begun becoming more solid. Only organs not to be affected were heart, lungs, brain, and skin. All others appeared to be affected to the varying degrees. Subject has requested lights be turned off and humidity raised. We complied. Hour 3. Subject has stopped talking or showing any signs of discomfort. Movement appears slow and labored, however it seems to have purpose. Any attempts to speak with subject was met with a blank stare. Lights were reactivated to instigate a response, but there was none. Visual analysis shows subject's skin having developed a fuzzy white fungal coating across its body. Its eyes were now white as well, as if cataracts have formed. At this point, any and all physically involved tests have been halted for personnel safety. All air circulation has been shut down to limit risk of spore exposure. Hour 4. Subject has completely ceased movement. Legs and feet are now fused to the floor with mycelium. Arms are stiff, and each finger has been split lengthwise to allow for fungal tendrils to sprout. The subject's head is tilted back with the lower jaw now dislocated, revealing a large mushroom cap about the size of a snow saucer protruding from it. Face is obscured by fungal growth. Note: it has been several hours with no signs of movement. For all intents and purposes, I am declaring this experiment a success. Diary Entry 2. We have begun sterilization of the containment cell. Subject's body is incredibly brittle, as evidenced by my associate trying to pull the subject and snapping the arm off, revealing the body was hollow. The sudden shock and motion, however, released a shower of spores coating my colleague. Room was sealed and quarantine procedures were implemented. Diary Entry 3. Quarantine was successful. Researcher was able to be decontaminated. However, the now present threat of spore leakage raises concerns of how to continue extraction. Diary Entry 4. Alarm was raised and facility was locked down. Apparently one of my subordinates attempted and succeeded in procuring a sample of the fungus. He escaped the cell before the incineration protocol activated. The vial containing the sample is missing. However, researcher is in custody. Diary entry 5. Prisoner was found dead. Cause of death was extreme internal facial trauma. In other words, his face exploded from the inside out. The guard was found coated in mycelium. Autopsy of both bodies were performed. Prisoner's body was found to be hollowed out and replaced with mycelium. The guard's remains contained what could only be described as a parasite feeding and spreading throughout the body, much like the subject in the experiment. Parasite was about 20 inches in length. Body was fused to the host as if gestating. An appendage was severed and showed a solid mass instead of any type of internal structure, skeletal or otherwise. Pale white skin spotted with blue streaks were where bruising appeared to have happened. Its face and head were an amalgamation of a mushroom cap and lower facial features that were distributed in almost random positions. Inspection of the gills under the cap revealed hundreds of mouths lined with what seemed like one solid razor-sharp squared-off tooth on each side of the mouth. Remains were dispatched by incineration after autopsy. Note: see autopsy report for more information on parasite. Diary entry 6. It seems the only option left is full facility containment. It has been 3 days since my last entry. The fungus has spread to as much as 40% of the staff. Gas masks as well as filter masks to protect some. However, those wearing anything below level 3 hazmat masks were all contaminated. Those infected reported headaches as well as visual and audible hallucinations. The parasite only seems to stay in its host long enough to germinate, then leaves through whatever area is closest. Diary entry 7. Contamination level is at critical. All other associates are either dead or being incubated. I have sealed my office and barricaded myself inside. These tiny parasitic creatures are incredibly quiet and fast. I have found that gunfire is useless. Bullets just bounce off or are absorbed with no effect other than slowing them down for a short period of time. Cutting or blunt force trauma have no good effects either. The pieces will begin rooting to the ground and sprouting into stationary caps that will lunge at targets that are close enough, ripping the victim apart and pinning them for a nearby parasite to infect. The only effective weapon is anything flame-based. Diary entry 8. This will be my final entry. I have used what resources I could to fill the sprinkler system with fuel. I have sent out a warning message to the powers that be for when they send a recovery team. I have begun flooding the facility. I have 1 torch left. Goodbye. The diary was found locked in a safe, with the words "Look here" scraped into it. The body of who we assume was researcher was recovered near the doorway of the office. Autopsy showed multiple unknown tumor-like objects throughout the remains, some of which still contain recoverable fungal spores. They have been sent to another facility for observation as well as research. All necessary precautions have been taken. Addendum. Convoy carrying researchers' remains was attacked. All personnel missing or dead. Recovery teams still looking for any leads. The bodies recovered, however, have wounds consistent with those described in the diary found on site. We may be facing an outbreak situation. Scorched Earth failsafe will be activated if need be to protect civilian population centers.